Hey everybody, welcome to our next kitchen safety lesson. Today's lesson is going to be about the oven and the stove. Now I've already washed my hands because I've already been cooking. My hair is back, so I'm ready to go. So first off, we just want to talk about the oven and the stove are hot. They can get very hot, and so we need to be very careful around the oven and the stove in general. But especially when they're on and people are cooking. So let's start with the stove first. So these things here, you can see, this is an element. And your element might look different than mine. They do all come in different types, but these can get quite hot. So this isn't on right now, it's not hot at all, I can touch it. But this one is on right now. You can see there's a pot on, you can maybe see a little bit of the blue flame flickering. So I would definitely not touch that. It is super hot. I could burn myself. Next thing we're going to talk about is the pot handle. So I have this pot handle. It's pointed into the oven. And that is because I don't want it pointed out like this so that somebody could come along and bump the pot, or somebody could accidentally tip it and then all the hot contents go on to somebody. So make sure, oh, there goes my timer. Make sure the pot handles are always pointed either inside, or you could point it to the back of the oven. Okay, and then the next thing, while we're cooking, we get something called steam, and I'm going to lift this up, and maybe you will see some steam coming up. You can kind of see it off the pot. And that steam is quite hot, so you don't want to put your hand over top or your face over top of any hot pots, because you could burn yourself that way. Which brings me to our last point about the stove, which is you never want to leave anything like a dishcloth on the stove, because this is a fire and it gets very hot and it could catch on fire. Same thing, like if you had some paper, a recipe or anything like that, it's on fire right now. So you wouldn't want to leave anything like that on, and I'm just going to let that burn out. You wouldn't want to leave any paper, any cloth, anything like that that could catch on fire on the stove. Okay, now let's look at the oven. So for our oven, there's a couple of rules as well. First things first, if you're ever touching the oven, always wear oven mitts, because these are going to keep you from getting burnt. Now, when I go to open my oven door, I want to stand to the side because it's hot in there, and the hot air is going to come out of the oven. So I'm going to open it, and I'm going to open it all the way down if I'm going to take something out. Because if I try and take something out like this, it's hard, and I might drop everything I've been baking or burn myself, so I'm going to open it all the way down. And then with my oven mitts on, I'm going to reach in and just grab the tray with both hands, and I'm going to put it on something that can hold hot stuff. So I'm going to put it on top of my stove right here. Same thing, take these cookies out. Oh, you know what? These ones aren't quite done. I'm going to leave them in there for a little bit longer. And the important thing when you're using your oven is to use a timer. So I put on the timer, you heard it go a little bit ago. I'm going to put it on for another 2 minutes for those cookies. And you want the timer on because you don't want your things to burn. So the timer lets you know it's time to take it out. So it's good to have a timer on so you can see or make sure your things don't get burnt, and again, you don't have a fire. And that is it for our kitchen and stove safety today. So wear some oven mitts, and even, you know what, when I take my pot off, I also use oven mitts because the handles can get quite hot. So wear your oven mitts and be careful. You can always ask for an adult to help if you are cooking around the stove or oven.